Hey mates, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've filmed myself for the channel. Like, I know I've uploaded the video recently, which was one of my animations, but it's been a while since I've done a vlog. So I'm sorry if I stumble over my words sometimes. I've kind of lost the drive, but it's been so fucking long that I've managed to finish high school by now. I'm now in university. And ironically, I have a smaller workload now that I'm in uni, as opposed to being in high school. So I hope to be able to churn out more of these videos fairly soon. Anyway, this is going to be a part 1 in the upcoming series of videos where I discuss the lore of my literary world, or universe, whatever you want to call it. So it might not surprise you to learn that I'm writing a novel right now. Some people know it, some people don't, and I was just thinking that maybe you guys would be interested in learning more about the lore of the world that it's set in. And in fact, it's the same world that my animation series UT Ops is set in. It's also the one that I'm developing a video game in, but you know. This episode has not been sponsored by Pepsi, but please drink it anyway. I'm Max Malevich, and this is Bodyak's Box. Let's start with the absolute basics. So, a literary universe bears the name 2084, that's 2084. This is because most of the events explored in my projects happened during the year of our Lord 2084, possibly during different time frames. So, because of the scale of the universe, these events can happen concurrently, meaning like in the same year or even in the same months or days, without conflict, hopefully at least. Some stories are connected, some stories are not connected, and it's gonna be determined later down the line. Pretty much all stories are also set within our galaxy, the Milky Way. It should be pretty clear by now that all of these stories can bear the classification of science fiction, because they're set in the future and they explore space and futuristic stuff. Basically what science fiction means in English. While our galaxy remains largely unexplored, a significant portion of it has been discovered, mapped out, and even colonized by various civilizations throughout millennia. The world of 2084 is somewhat anthropocentric. It's not quite what the word anthropocentrism means, but it refers to the fact that the overwhelming majority of all civilizations that do exist today are humanoid to one degree or another. And one of the oldest civilizations that exist today are the Pataliputrians. They are named after their planet of origin Pataliputra, which orbits star Mirnama, located on the other side of the galaxy opposite from us. They have developed there an indeterminate amount of time ago, possibly millions of years ago. Notably, Earthlings, in other words, us, bear a striking resemblance to them. This is quite possibly related to the fact that Earth itself possesses conditions that are quite similar to Pataliputra. The Pataliputrians have been obsessed with Earth-like planets, basically planets that are similar to their own, and they've done extensive research on them. It's not surprising once you consider that we ourselves have been searching obsessively for Earth-like exoplanets for many decades. Ironically, this research has left some Pataliputrian genome on these planets, so in this way, Earthlings aren't even that unique in their similarity to the Pataliputrians. And yes, in the world of 2084, aliens have walked among us since the dawn of history, silently observing, documenting, and slightly nudging our progress up until the modern day. Now, all of this information can quite possibly muddle one's understanding of the word human and what it means to be human, and what it means to be humanoid, so allow me to quote directly from my wiki. The term humanoid refers to any species, race, or individual in the galaxy that bears resemblance to that of a human. Over time, in Cosmolingua, the term has become identical in meaning to the word human. The term is widely used in Pataliputrian cosmoanthropology to distinguish between species that resemble the Pataliputrian human, also known as the standard race, and those that do not. Since human likeness is a bit of a fuzzy, non-discrete concept, Pataliputrians have attempted to create a fitting categorization system that approximates values and assigns a number between 1 and 100 to a given species based on research data, with 100 being identical to standard in every way, quote unquote, and one being does not possess any humanoid features whatsoever. Nearly all known sapient races and species in the galaxy have been categorized this way. The overwhelming majority have been found to be unequivocally human. And fun fact, Earthlings score 94 points on the scale, while our neighbors, the Martians, score 96. So, in some way, Earthlings are less human than Martians? No, it doesn't work that way, I'm sorry. This is how similar Earthlings are to Pataliputrians. So, the scale refers to how similar a human is to the standard race of Pataliputrians. It doesn't literally mean like you are not human or you are human. Even though some people use like this, it's not what it's for, you know? Considering the abundance of sapient humanoid races that exist in the galaxy on planets with similar natural conditions to Minama 111, which is the scientific name for Pataliputra, it has been proposed that every species is related in some way. Indeed, research has shown that every human race carries the same basic genetic code that's referred to as the human genome, which drives the local nature's ecosystem into eventually evolving an animal that always ends up to be a higher primate, specifically a hominid, and even more specifically, a local kind of human. This is why nearly every sapient race is described as such. So, for instance, we have names such as Earthling human, Martian human, Catinian human, Pataliputra human, and so on. The most likely and widely accepted theory for this accidental co-evolution remains to be panspermia. It is theorized that a planet which has formed in the early galaxy might have exploded or been shattered for one reason or another, and its debris were scattered throughout the galaxy, carrying with it remnants of the human genome and other genetic material. It is also the only theory that reliably explains both concurrent evolution and why some races have evolved later than others. In this case, we have the Pataliputrians, which are one of the oldest humanoid races out there, and well, no, Earthlings, but Earthlings are still relatively a young race. Most humanoid races are still genetically incompatible enough with one another to not be able to breed. An example of two humanoid races that can interbreed is Earthlings and Martians. This is because we have formed in the same galactic neighborhood, so to speak. We are formed from the same solar system particles, and we're basically very close. Now that we understand the origins of this contention, we can go further, keeping in mind that when we use the word human or humanoid, we are simply referring to a species or an individual that looks like this familiar form, that is, if there's no explicit statement as to what its species is. The same logic applies to terms like person, man, woman, because these terms presuppose that the individual described is humanoid. Pataliputrians have also somewhat affected the cultural development of our planet, especially in ancient Europe. This is evident in both cultures and languages found across the Mediterranean, and I'm specifically talking about ancient Rome, aka the Roman Empire, and ancient Greece, aka Hellas. Moreover, the language widely spoken by Pataliputrians phonetically and lexically resembles a mixture of ancient Greek and Latin. The language in question is referred to as cosmolingua. It was composed from 79 different official languages that existed on Pataliputra in order to unite various peoples on this planet to form one big superstate fairly soon before the Pataliputrian space age began. This makes Cosmolingua one of the oldest languages in the galaxy, and due to the way it's constructed and spoken, it's relatively easy to learn Cosmolingua for most humanoid species, and in fact, it's easier to learn than some indigenous languages. So this is why Cosmolingua has become the de facto lingua franca of the galaxy, a universal language of international communication in almost all sectors of the Milky Way galaxy, and it's used by most humanoid races for communication. We are wrapping this episode up. I hope you found this piece of lore interesting, and if you did, stay tuned for episode 2 because it's right around the corner, I promise. I'm Max Malevich, and this has been Bodyak's Books. Thank you for watching. You know, I've made a page on Buy Me a Coffee over a year ago, I think maybe 2 years at this point, and I'm thinking of like publishing it so people can throw me a couple bucks if they want to support me. But the problem is my upload schedule is very inconsistent, as you can see. Like there's months and years between some of my uploads, and this is kind of cringe. So if I get a relatively, you know, stable upload schedule this year, maybe I will make the Buy Me a Coffee page public, so you blokes can help me out a bit, you know, show me some support. Leave it down in the comment section below if you like this video and if you wanna maybe actually see this page on buymeacoffee.com. So, yeah, thanks for watching.